And I say all the time that, moral clarity and courage are needed, but you can't have them separate from each other. If we have moral clarity without courage, it doesn't change anything. You don't end up making a difference. You're just in your own private life, you've got it figured out, but you're not doing anything to impact the culture. And so those two things need to be coupled together. You need the courage to go along with it so that you actually affect some change in the culture. And so that's what we're hoping to inspire. And that's what I was hoping to convey in my contribution to the documentary.
Hey, look out. It's Faith Talk Today. I'm Rick Probst. Hope you're having a great Atlanta weekend. What a treat we have today. Seth Dillon with us. He's the CEO of the Babylon Bee, or Babylon Bee. Dillon has been there a while. He and his wife and 2 kids live in Juno Beach. First of all, Seth, I looked at Juno. I was like, where is Juno? I love the East Side, and I found it. Don't you think the East Side is much better than the Gulf? Come on, let's talk Florida.
Well, I've lived both places. I actually lived in Naples, Florida for a little while on the other coast. So they're both awesome for different reasons. But this is my home now. I've been over here for 20 years, so we love it here.
Love that. You and your kids, how old are your boys now?
9 and 12.
Any of them have a satirical bone yet, or what?
They're both pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much they appreciate like satire yet. They're kind of growing into an age where they'll understand that better, but they're very sarcastic and witty, and they make us laugh all the time. So there's hope for them in carrying on the empire and the Dillon name.
So when they move in that arena there, they don't get scolded then? You just kind of copy down what they say and use it later on for something, no doubt.
They
right?
Definitely don't get scolded for being funny. Definitely not.
My boys,
it's funny. My wife actually has some pretty good humor too, and a couple of times I've incorporated her jokes into speeches that I've given, or passed them along as headline pitches to our team, and so she's been published in the Bee before, so she's funny too.
I have 3 boys who are now men, and growing up, they would use humor, satire, whatever they could use in their arsenal when I was trying to lecture them. And you just have to turn your head and laugh because they were very, very funny. I said, I just never mind. Go see your mother is what I usually said.
It's disarming, isn't it, when they do that? It really is.
It is. Seth is the CEO of Babylon Bee. I mentioned that, and we'll have to have him back because I want to talk about satire and stuff. Hopefully we'll get to talk a little bit. He is in the film that focused on the family and Colson Center put together, Truth Rising. He and Oz Guinness and John Stone Street and a bunch of folks. I love your part. I did fast forward a bit just to see your part, and I enjoyed it. And I love the content of this film, and we want to ask you about it. How did you get connected with this film, and what's it all about for those who don't know?
Well, so I guess I can answer both those questions together. We were kind of caught at the center of a social media controversy that involved speech. The right to push back on the narratives that are being imposed on us, including by these social networks that establish policies and guidelines and rules and regulations that you can't violate, or else it's an enforceable policy violation. You get kicked off. We had told a joke that we weren't supposed to tell because it violated these rules. It violated the hateful conduct policy, right? And we ended up getting suspended for that. And there was this whole thing, this back and forth. We can get into the details of it if you want to. I talk about this some in the documentary, but but it was ultimately Elon Musk who ended up buying Twitter and setting us free on his first day as CEO. And we had the opportunity. We had the opportunity to resolve that situation ourselves before Elon got involved by simply deleting the tweet that they didn't like and admitting that we engaged in hateful conduct. And we refused to do that. And so we took a bold stand on principle, just simply saying, look, these are jokes we should be allowed to tell, and we shouldn't have to censor ourselves. This is a free society. We should be able to speak our minds. And if it means that we can't be on this platform anymore because you don't tolerate that here, then we don't want to be on this platform. And it was our hope that, maybe we would inspire and embolden others to join us in this fight for freedom on these platforms, because it was pretty absurd and ridiculous that comedy was being outlawed there. And And so, it was that caught the attention when they're putting together this documentary, Truth Rising. They're trying to tell stories about people who are engaging the culture with courage and conviction, and in standing on the truth, come what may, even if there's consequences, even if there's severe backlash and attempts to cancel you and attempts to suppress and silence your voice. Truth Rising is about elevating and focusing on those stories of people who've stood up to that pressure and overcome it, and now see more success and the amplification of their voice and differences and changes happening in the culture. And so our story was one that they wanted to include.
Love that. Seth Dillon with us, Babylon Bee. He is the CEO, and you can watch it, truthrising.com. I was going through it this morning, not only watching the trailer, but going through prepping for the interview. And it is a really good document. And not just the content, but the quality that this thing is put together. Sometimes we can look at stuff that, hey, if we can call it the Christian community, if you will, it's just kind of yawn. You go, oh my God. But this is just really, really, really good. I love the part where it says that, and this is the written about it. Hey, don't just watch the film, but join the movement. How come, and how?
Well, that's a call to action, because the idea here isn't just to highlight in particular stories so that we can all, applaud these people that stood for their courage and convictions. It's to inspire people to also take action and do something. I say all the time that we have a shortage of two things, moral clarity and courage. I think we have more moral clarity than we do courage. A lot of people. So the issue that we got in trouble with Twitter was this trans issue. We were pushing back on the idea that men can become women. We made a joke about the transgender health admiral in the Biden administration who was named Woman of the Year. This is a male person. And we joked that Rachel Levine was our pick for Man of the Year. We're pushing back on this idea, that's permeating the culture and that's being imposed on us from the top down. And we were joking about that. Basically the purpose of, the idea here is to inspire other people to do the same types of stuff where they are actually challenging the popular narrative. They're going countercultural. In a post-truth culture, the truth is needed more than ever. And so it's really a call to action to get people to join us in the movement, defending truth, defending reality and reason against the all-out war that's being waged against those things. And I say all the time that, moral clarity and courage are needed, but you can't have them separate from each other. If we have moral clarity without courage, it doesn't change anything. You don't end up making a difference. You're just in your own private life. You've got it figured out, but you're not doing anything to impact the culture. And so those two things need to be coupled together. You need the courage to go along with it so that you actually affect some change in the culture. And so that's what we're hoping to inspire. And that's what I was hoping to convey in my contribution to the documentary.
Truthrising.com is a great place to go to. Don't just watch it. Join the movie, the movement.
In my case, join the movie. In your case, join the movement.
So many things I want to ask you. I love these quotes from you, Seth. Satire speaks truth into the culture through humor. It really, really does. Growing up watching myself, child of the 60s and 70s, Laugh-In, Smothers Brothers, SNL, Monty Python's Flying Circus, kind of molded me. I thought it was hysterical, and is the kind of stuff that you didn't want your parents to know you're watching, because it is just that kind of thing. And I
did that with The Simpsons growing up.
Yes.
I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons, but I watched it anyway, and that actually had a lot of influence on my own sense of humor.
Because your dad was a pastor, and they said, no, you guys can't. The church won't think too well of that. I've been there, done that. Satire confronts. I love this. Satire confronts bad ideas so that they aren't taken seriously. Seth Dillon quote there. Amazing.
Yeah.
Love that.
The problem with bad ideas is when bad ideas are taken seriously, they have catastrophic consequences. And so, you can call them what you want. You can call them mind viruses, as Elon Musk does. That's his criticism of wokeness, is that it's a mind virus that's spreading through the culture, and it needs to be addressed. And the problem is, the reason we've been fighting against censorship so aggressively is because what censorship does is it tries to protect these bad ideas so that you can't criticize them, either with refutation or with ridicule. And so it insulates their whole worldview so that it can't be challenged from the outside. And when that's the case, then you're not actually debating about what's true. You're dictating what's true.
Mm.
And the bad ideas themselves, a lot of these ideas, like the issue that we got in trouble with the transgender stuff, this is a damaging idea that gets planted in, we're cultivating confusion in the minds of young children. And then once they're confused thoroughly, we affirm them in their confusion and then refer them to a surgeon so they can chop off healthy body parts.
Wow.
I mean, what could be more damaging or destructive than that? And that's leading people down a path of despair and destruction. And so if we want to see hope and love and truth and goodness prevail, we have to push back on these bad ideas. And I love there's a better quote than any of the ones that I've come up with that I draw from C.S. Lewis, where he said that good philosophy must exist, if for no other reason, because bad philosophy needs to be answered. And his point there is that there's so much there's terrible arguments, there's bad arguments, there's bad philosophy, there's bad ideas. They need to be challenged, they need to be refuted, and yes, they even need to be ridiculed, because I think one of the most effective ways, Lewis is talking specifically about good philosophy. He's talking about engaging with argumentation against these bad ideas and putting them down and refuting them and repudiating them. I'm talking about, with satire, I summarize our mission as to ridicule bad ideas. That's what we do, because ridicule actually it exposes the foolishness for what it is, so that it isn't taken seriously. It does it more effectively than anything else. I'll throw another one of my favorite quotes at you. Chesterton said that humor can get in under the door while seriousness is still fumbling at the handle. And I think that's why humor is so effective. It's disarming. It slips through people's defenses. You wrap your message in the package of humor, and it's so much more easily delivered and received. And so you get people actually kind of laughing along with you and realizing the reason this is funny is because it's true. And if it's true, then the bad idea isn't.
Hey there. If you're enjoying Faith Talk Today, make sure that you click the subscribe button to our YouTube channel and give this video a thumbs up. How's that? Yeah, and help us reach more people, will you? And catch the full audio podcast wherever you listen. Just search Faith Talk Today. New episodes get dropped every Monday morning. So thanks for listening. Now back to the conversation.
Seth Dillon with us, CEO of Babylon Bee. How many times have you read Babylon Bee and you were like, oh, should I be laughing? But that is so funny. It is good stuff. I've done that a few times. And thanks for knocking over Killing Sacred Cows, because some of those have been,
Yeah, well, I like the way that you put that. Sometimes satire doesn't make you laugh. Sometimes it makes you wince. And that's because it isn't just about humor and entertainment. I think that's obviously, one of the primary things that the satirist is trying to do is to make you laugh and entertain you. But he's also trying to make you think about things. And sometimes, the joke itself, if you want to even call it a joke, is meant to evoke that response, that kind of wince response. And the way that I describe it, because humor is so often right now in our culture, our safe space, cancel culture kind of, we need to insulate everyone from harm, which includes humor, which might hurt their feelings. That's the way, that's the way that our culture has decided to treat humor and mockery, as if it's bullying or it's negative in some way and it's harmful in some way. And they do that because they see the sting of jokes. They feel the sting of a joke, especially if it goes after a sacred cow, like you're talking about. And they immediately react to that by saying, oh, we should be protected from that. We shouldn't have to wince. We shouldn't have to feel that discomfort that comes with a joke at the expense of one of my pet things or myself or some of my beliefs. But the purpose of it isn't to sting just to hurt somebody. That's the difference. With satire, the purpose is to cut for a healing purpose. So it's the difference between running around with a knife and stabbing people to harm them, and using a scalpel to remove cancer from a patient so that he survives. And the bad ideas are the cancer that are killing the culture. And so, yes, we cut, but we cut for a healing purpose.
I love that. You colored that so well. I see it clearly. Seth Dillon, Babylon Bee CEO. Good stuff. Go see Truth Rising. You can do it now at truthrising.com. It's focused on the family and the Colson Center. And check out Babylon Bee. You will laugh, wince, and cry. And it is all good. Did you notice at all? And this is probably a stupid question, but I'll ask it anyway. I'm a boomer. Did you notice after it hit the fan with Rachel Levine, and the man of the year / woman of the year, did you see an increase in, clicks and views and whatever you rate folks coming by to check out the stuff for Babylon Bee? Did you see more?
Well, and what happens with these types of things is, initially when there's an action like that taken against you, in this case, we announced that we had been suspended and locked out of our account, and that generated some media attention. We got the attention of people like Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson and Ben
Yeah.
Shapiro, and a lot of the big voices in the conservative side rallying to support us. And so initially there's this huge surge of interest, but of course, the news cycle moves on to the next thing, whatever the next thing is, very, very quickly now.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get an initial surge of interest or support, and then it goes away. And in our case, because we were suspended on one of the major social platforms that drives a substantial amount of our traffic, we saw a big decrease in traffic and engagement on the site and on social media because we were no longer on one of these major platforms. And so the initial spike that happened was great, but then it tapered off, and we had no access to the 1.4 million people who had been following us on Twitter anymore. So it did hurt us for a while, and we spent 8 months in Twitter jail before Elon busted us out. And when he did that, obviously, we came surging back, and it was this big triumphant return. We now have 5 million followers on Twitter, and so that's nearly 5 times what we had at the time. And so this is one of the things that is often, overlooked, or in the effort to suppress people's voices, the effort to silence them and suppress them. Generally what happens, it backfires badly. It's called the Streisand effect. You end up actually amplifying and drawing attention. The Streisand effect is named after Barbara Streisand because she tried to sue these aerial photographers that had taken pictures of her home and put the pictures on the internet. And she tried to sue them, and no one had seen the pictures yet. But with the lawsuit itself drew attention to the pictures, and they ended up getting seen millions of times. And so her effort to suppress those images drew attention, vastly more attention to those images than they would have otherwise gotten. And that is the great backfiring that happens with cancel attempts, and we benefited from that. So I do try to encourage people that you're going to face potentially a period of suppression and silencing, sure, but it often does ultimately result in amplification, which was our experience.
Seth Dillon with us, Babylon Bee. Check it out, babylonbee.com. Truth Rising. You'll see his part in it, and I love it. I love the whole just watching it and seeing you guys brainstorm together. And then, as you mentioned before we went and started the show, that you read Babylon Bee stuff as a reader. You don't get in there and start meddling around and fixing. You have talented folks that put this together, and then you read it as a reader. And I think that's, hey, who am I? I'm a washed up talk show host. I think that's so healthy for somebody.
Yeah, I like to enjoy the content the way that the readers do. I am often in those channels where we're pitching the ideas, so I see a lot of them before they get published. I see a lot of the stuff that deserves to be in the trash can and shouldn't get published.
Sure.
And then the stuff that does, I'll often see it ahead of time. But hey, if I'm traveling, if I'm disconnected for a couple of days, I'm just scrolling around on the internet and seeing our jokes the way that other people do. I notice them and see them and laugh at them when they get published publicly. And that's the first time I'm seeing it. And so I get to actually observe it as kind of a passive observer as well. And I'm entertained by it myself. So we do have a very talented team that keeps me laughing.
Seth Dillon, CEO of Babylon Bee. You've been so generous with your time. I know you got to go. You've got another meeting, and I think I've kept you too long, but I would love to have you back and talk about other stuff and maybe kind of post Truth Rising and see what happened and how it has affected our culture, our community so far. Hey, check it out if you will. It's truthrising.com. Well, that's it. Next week, another guest. I'm Rick Probst, Faith Talk Today. See ya.
Hey, that's it for this episode of Faith Talk Today. But wait, there is more. You can go ahead and click the next video and keep watching videos and share them. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to the Faith Talk Today podcast. And we'd love to connect with you online. Just follow us at Faith Talk Atlanta. We're on all the socials. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Faith Talk Today.